if the spirals in life could inspire you, what would be your volitions and volutions in creativity? How would you suddenly see that a decision can spiral into many realms in regards to the act of creation which you are? You see, today's topic is one where I want to explore the concept of creativity, and not just explore it on the surface, but to talk about the creative potential of man. So if you were a human being and you just wanted a reference on, all right, what can a human being do? I'm one person giving my opinion for now, in this moment, you know. So it's very important to see, guys, that creativity, or the act of creation, let's begin with creation. When we look at creation, what are we looking at? And so if we choose to analyze, if we choose to not go into, let's say, the tunnels of rationality, and we just simply observe, you will see that your presence doesn't have to be anything because it doesn't have to act. And when I say it doesn't have to act, what is an awareness of stillness in a infinitely changing world, let's say, in a cyclical world, where there's cycles, where we're being affected by greater orbits? We need to see that man has his creative potential based on the imagery of a spectrum which is given through his life experience. So you're a human being who's lived a life, and so your awareness to your life is the meaning of the imagery that is in front of you. Now, because you have a mind, and because the mind, nobody knows what it is, you will see that your sense of existential intelligence is as if it has the ability, when you are a human being, to also be its environment, and also just to be a view of his environment. In other words, an observance. So think of all those moments where you were waiting for your coffee and you were just observing, you know, how your coffee was being served or getting ready, you know. So it's very, very important to see that we are observing things all the time, but it's that sometimes we are not consciously aware of it. And the reason we're not consciously aware of it is because there's so many fluctuations that it's as if our mind has an ability to create such a vast world that we'll, at some point, if we choose to be individual, and we'll be like, I don't know what's going on. It's that Monopoly game where you suddenly became the anvil on the board. And so your scale of reality changed. And so what that means is that I, after some point, realized it's not that I am not smarter than any man. It's not that the concept of smart is subjective and irrelevant. It's not that there are smart people. It's just that as a moment of experience, even a caterpillar on the highest branch will also have an experience as valuable as mine. Because it is in your awareness which the story dictates the condition. If you're not aware, life is as it is. You're not doing anything about it, so it's still the same thing. It's as if you not, you know, you haven't gone back home after the end of work, and so you don't know what's happening in your house. So similarly, you need to be aware of what you are, and you don't have to make this a complex process. If you choose to make it a complex process by thinking, oh, I'm a great philosopher, your mind will go into turbulence. It is only a man who is humble enough to step onto the station of I don't know, where in one moment he can see, you know, all skies of knowing light up. You know, you can see your change as you become aware of it. So I could say it like this: my reflexes have changed throughout the years, and I've noticed the reason they've changed is because my awareness to my body has changed. And what that means is, just think about it for a moment, that this physical body is not just physical. You know, it's not just like the only individual thing that you're aware of. You're aware of your physical body as much as you're aware of the tree right there, as much as you're aware of my voice, you're aware of all of life in your moment, which is like your presence. Do you know what I mean? It's as if like, just recognize right now how much awareness you have. Everything you can be aware of, you know? Whether you're thinking about it or whether you're just simply sitting there and just observing, you know? Meditation, there's a very beautiful concept in meditation where it's suggesting as if the minute you choose to be still, you suddenly become an observer of movement. When you suddenly choose to move, you become an observer of stillness. And so in Western society, people are moving to such an intensity that their happiness has to be stillness. Because it's as if they're not balancing how many different aspects of life they need to be aware of to maintain their life, you know. So what that means is if I'm just someone who, for example, never read a book, you know, when there were so many, I would see that it's as if my choices, by not evolving, feel as if they're spiraling downwards in the sense that I haven't read anything. So guys, the whole point of that example was the fact that your awareness has many dimensions, and it's life's experiences that awaken these dimensions. So you must see that you must actually get off the couch and go on a much more better couch, which is moving and so dynamic, which is your greatest engagement in life. It's that moment where you're sitting down and you suddenly stopped, and in one day, you did everything you needed to do for, let's say, the next few months. In one day, you just put so much focus that the rest of the day, you just, you know, you were just very comfortable. So it's very important to see that you are at first playing with imagery in this reality, and your awareness to imagery is suggesting the platform of your truth. The reason I say the platform of your truth, because you haven't landed in your truth. It's as if you're still on the plane ride, in this plane of existence, until you actually land into that awareness, which again, through your subjectivity, shows that your body can dissolve. So what that means is there's a very interesting dynamic, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but just to say that we either have a human being who's in an external reality, in an external world, or we have a world that has a human being in it. So as if like all intelligence is everything looking through us. So that moment where all those people were like, you're the cosmos, and as Rumi, a very realized Sufi poet, has said, you're the universe in ecstatic motion. Rumi, a very profound poet, has this quote, and this guy was alive around 800 years ago, and he was a very realized human being, just a human being who just awakened from it. And he has this quote, and he says, it's as if his wisdom to all humanity before he passes on, you know. And he says, stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. And so when these quotes come into a human being's vision, it doesn't matter how much science or how much religion or how much anything has suggested imagery. Your excitement in a novel moment gives you an ability to step out of the condition. You don't have problems. You create problems in which you put your havingness in. You create problematic realities in which you think you are only this, but no, you're not. You are the walk of the cosmos. You are, in a sense, a being who is a new moment in everything that exists. So this human being who exists will either be aware that there is nothing, there's only external reality, and this is my immediate information, or he will suddenly see that perhaps the tool he's used to make his greatest, for example, design is actually not the right tool. So inspiration sometimes doesn't come from you, and so when you are doing a great work in life, you will suddenly see that it's as if an aspect of life sends someone who inspires you. And so many people have had, there has been a concept of a muse, you know. It's as if that rock star who was just walking his own way realized that regardless of how much turbulence he put his physical body in, he was doing something. And so the most important thing to maintain your health as a human being is doing things. You gotta do things, and not just anything. I mean, you can do anything, you know, but you need to do things with your complete absorption in the moment, and it's fascinating. It's that moment where you looked at a painting from a distance and you were like, oh, you know, meh, you know. And then when you went and looked at it up close and you were like, my God, there's so many hidden worlds in one picture. So we must give ourselves the ability to see beyond ourselves. That is the most important thing, and that is timeless wisdom, guys. You don't need to revolt, you don't need to rebel against something. You need to rebel against your conception that is creating a problematic world. You need to rebel against all those things that you think is not enough, and you must begin observing the nature of your being. Rumi also has another quote which is very profound in the sense of the imagery that it communicates. And he says, love is a madman, working his wild schemes, tearing off his clothes, running through the mountains. So can you visualize, just in a sense, an insanity that pulls you out of your reality? And so it's that moment, guys, where you see that what is a madman? That guy who is not being normal, because there is no normal. It's that moment where a human being recognizes, oh my God, all these standards I'm agreeing to, I have my own. I could just have my own interpretation. So if you were never in the city and you had been to one city, you could go and in your mind you could create a city. So it's very important to see that love is a madman, and it's kind of that guy running into the woods, into the unknown. And the whole point of this imagery is that this human being is trying to communicate. You must surpass yourself. There are imagery right now to you that are making you look normal, and that's not good. That's decay of the mind. There must be a bit of turbulence as well. You know, your life shouldn't just all be a peaceful just chair, you know? Because if you're only sitting on a chair, it defeats the purpose of your legs. It might fulfill the purpose of the chair, but it defeats the purpose of your legs. And so it's very important for you to see that you're always walking in this life. And it's very important that you make sure as you're walking in this life, you walk into great experiences, into more deeper experiences of deeper understanding of self, not of anyone else. You're just understanding more about yourself because you're living. You know, it's like that moment where that warrior was in his first war, you know, and so he held his sword and his hand was about to perhaps let go of the sword, but he saw that he did not need to. That regardless of if you choosing not to get involved or getting involved, life is moving. And to be honest, that is love. That is love when existence is guiding you. Not all realities, the planet is in such a communication with the beings. And it's very important because planetary understanding cannot originate until the human ego dissolves. You cannot have a collective sense of consciousness clearly if your ideology is, in a sense, very clear. Not very clear, let me say it like this. If your ideology is very shaped. So you must let go of your own face to discover the face that is eternal, that is there always. You know, that awareness that is present. Many TV shows display the concept of a soul and spirit as this floating thing that just is the same version of you, but it's outside of you, you know. And so I've had experiences that have put my immediate focus of reality out of my body, but the concept of a soul is a bit dangerous if you have not looked at where conception comes from. And so as you look at where conception comes from, before you interpret your condition as problematic, you're observing if this is really you. It's that moment where you're perhaps very tired and you're in this random conversation with someone, and so you're trying to be polite but not to stop, but suddenly you see your yawns are just, you know, showing the heaviness of your eyelids, and so you must leave, you must take immediate action and go find your bed, you know. So what I mean by that is that don't be rude, but don't also be too polite, because if you be too polite, you will create an illusion of yourself that is so soft that it's as if you're trying to take care of a soft imagery of yourself. What that means is, a while ago, I was keeping my insecurities there by keeping imagery of myself the same there. So you must see that psychology will totally shift, our understanding of the mind will totally shift if we acknowledge the being, the human being, as first the being, the consciousness, and then the form. Because then it's as if like we are gazing high and we're moving forward, you know? It's that moment where the general has given his speech and just the whole plane of reality knows that together they are walking, you know, to either their death or some form of terrible victory. So it's very crucial to see, guys, that creativity is your awareness to self that is actually more of an allowed expression. So I want to kind of show two different things, and I just want to communicate certain experiences I've had. You see, there was a time where my relationship with ideas was very different. And so I would I would get a blank piece of paper and I would think a lot, you know, and I would take, I think it's Ernest Hemingway's advice that he said, write drunk, edit sober. So I would follow that advice and I would try to write something on a blank piece of paper. And this is a long time, you know, a couple years ago. And when I was writing, I noticed that I had no ideas. I had no significance. It's like the minute I stopped thinking about the topic, I would totally forget about that topic. It's as if like all my ideas would not land properly. And so what I mean by that is that I had writer's block to the point that I just didn't even know why I was writing. Like that's some intense writer's block, where you're like, oh my God, why am I even writing, you know? So later on, I realized that creativity is a holistic process. And so because I was so arrogant enough in thinking, oh, I'm gonna write something, I tried to create something that did not naturally come. So if you tune yourself, your moments will be so synchronistic and aligned because it's as if you are adjusting yourself with the flows of reality. It's that moment where you see perhaps in that gladiator scene, that gladiator is just walking very slowly, you know, because there is no need to rush when you are aware of how the command is present. We might think that perhaps many warlords or many just kings and stuff are bad imagery, you know, or just they were, you know, they made mankind their servants. But you must see that it doesn't matter how human beings play with one another because they're playing with toys. So this reality, this imagery that is happening now is on one subtle level not present because the opposite of it could be simultaneously present. Because your awareness conceives your reality in a manner where what you think is external is kept in an internal experience. Because we see that the existential design of the human being was one where it did not just get revelation, but was also given blankness. So we were given remembrance, but also forgetfulness as our design. And as we see, there's a lot of suddenly forgetfulness, and there's a lot of, remembrance, you suddenly you just get that hint, wait a minute. What if there is no forgetfulness, there is no remembrance? It's simply that how I'm acknowledging reality is a new dimension. Sometimes you think you're confused, but no, you have gone to the edge of where that idea can lead, and so the only solution is a deep existential observance. It's that moment where the bird no longer wants to fly between the branches, but is flying in the sky and observing the whole forest. In an instant it knows. In an instant it knows, because the gaze of that eagle in the sky, who's seeing everything, is much more clear than the gaze of that eagle on that branch. Maybe not as detailed, maybe not as solid, maybe not as physical, maybe not as external. But again, it's as if everything is keeping everything here. And so some men have gotten hints, and that's why chaos theory became kind of interesting. The butterfly effect, how the edge of a butterfly's wing could be the cause of perhaps, let's say, the movement of a guillotine on a genius, for example, revolutionary. You need to see that life is as it is, and you first are aware of life's information, and then your information, which becomes the awareness you have to life's information. So you must see that before anybody talks to you, all of life is talking to you. Everything that you're aware of is just in your awareness, it's in your presence. So as you see life is communicating with you, ideas just become less interesting. It's not that you've stopped thinking, it's just that you're not utilizing that technology as much. It's as if you were carrying heavy luggage, you just put it away. You don't need it. Think of it this way. Everything that you think you're holding to that is not serving you is like, think of it as if like it's your luggage, and suddenly your best friend has just won, your closest friend has just won the lottery and is giving you millions, let's say. You will see that you would not care about that insignificant of reality, because in your new moment of creation awareness, you have found a greater significance. And so honor was simply that, where a human being, before he died, he was like, I must leave significantly. And so I totally understand how the Japanese had harakiri, if I'm saying that right. Because it wasn't for them. It's like they had an awareness that their honor meant that their presence is great. That is why they were organized. So all those able beings who have come to this plane of experience, their ability was in an aspect of themselves knowing that their presence was great. It's that Martin Luther King knew that there was a difference, and that is why he could see the difference. And so it's important to right now stop acting like anything and see yourself in the clearest and most directly experiential way. And the best way to do that is to go to a park or something, Go to a nature trail, It's like, just get a glass of, if you're a coffee drinker, this is a fascinating experience for you. If you're a constant coffee drinker, just get a glass of water or a bottle of water and go sit on the park and try to just be your environment, be with your environment. Don't just hang out with your friends, hang out with all life. And you will see that your intelligence will immediately adjust itself, align yourself, not that numbers will begin smiling at you in synchronistic ways, but you will begin seeing that it's not the external reality. It's as if like the being who was constantly just an external solid thing is now becoming aware of his liquid bodies. And so as he's becoming aware of his liquid bodies, suddenly he sees the physical thing is moving so much. So what that means is, for example, let's take a great leader, let's say Gandhi, for example. Gandhi, perhaps the greatness we see as mankind was nothing close to the infinity that was in his eyes when he chose to stand up from his meditation and go up and grab a handful of salt and drop it back down. You must see that there is nothing to hold here. There is nothing to keep, and that is freedom. Because you don't have to have something to be free. You have an existential freedom. You're that being who's so aware that he exists that human ideology just became one aspect, just became a tool. Your human imagery became a tool, not in an insignificant way, but in the most profound, significant way. It's as if that moment where the artist was drawing his painting, he was bringing his whole life. It's as if all his memories, just like color being splashed on a canvas, were just being thrown, being thrown into manifestation. And so when a human being dances, it's not only him, it's as if the mind has given itself a permission to be aware that it is beyond form. And so that formless presence is a vast collective push. It's as if that moment where I just suddenly woke up and realized that the illusion was just me not getting up after, let's say, I fell for the first time as a kid, Well, we all crawl until we stand, and so it's very important that your mentality and in regards to thought and ideology and how you're aware of existence, you stand up too. Because once you do, you will see that you will no longer be attracted by words like happiness, or confidence, You would see that these things are just side effects of your clear awareness of the totality of what you are in this existence. You must see that it is totally acceptable, and it's a very good thing that you have, in a sense, absorbed scientific information to find a reference of what you are. But now you're also a creator. And so it's as if you're not just a scribe, you're an artist as well. And bless all those people trying to do things people have never done, because they will see that their satisfaction will be their greatest contribution in this reality. So I am not even thinking of what life means until I have lived it fully. And so you must not let ideas make your existence insignificant. Ideas cannot touch your being. And this is why that word called soul, spirit, or any other word was just the word, and you were the universe that allowed such manifestation. I hope that in this talk you see the importance that creativity means giving yourself more existential allowance, means that being in a more dynamic state where your mind is as if utilizing everything like a color if you were a painter. Every form, everything is projecting knowing within you. And as you walk like this, you will see that your mind is always active. You will see that you will in a sense open up to more of the grid of the planet, in the sense that your mind, the aspect of your mind, is the creator. So many people think that there's this grid and they're like, whoa, cool, a grid of energy, but it's not like that. The grid is the conceiver of the reality. So the grid is the mind, we are just the bodies, and the bodies are like in this giant glass dome. And so the mind is the whole world, and so beyond all the world is the essence of beautiful. Language is something to play with, that's it. Language is something that must not turn into luggage. And always know it's very important to travel light. You will see that moment where you're no longer chasing the butterfly will land on your forehead, in the sense that your inspiration will find you. So if you just sit down and be aware of the beauty of this existence, such a profound knowing will come to you that it's as if it is no one else telling you. It's as if you have just observed life so deeply that it's as if you're seeing something new out of it. And so that sense of novelty will be an experience of your world. So it's very important to be aware of that. Guys, I was about to end this, but I want to also add another a bit of information in regards to how an advanced communicator acknowledges multidimensional reality. It begins with you, first of all, knowing that the advanced communicator is unshaped. You don't know. You're not aware of the advanced communicator yet. You're just some human being communicating. Now, how you become aware of this advanced communicator is in actuality in seeing that you must first go to a point of now where time and space are no longer segmented and discover the existential intelligence there. So it's like, imagine that moment where the teacher was telling you, stop asking questions and open your book, you know? Stop asking others for happiness and confidence and look at yourself. They say don't judge a book by its cover. Well, it seems that every human being is judging their book by their cover. They're judging themselves by their cover. And your cover is a changing process, so I don't know what you're judging even, you know? So as you go into that present moment where space and time do not exist in the same way, there the butterfly will land on your forehead. There you will move beyond having to be a certain self to get a certain understanding, and you absorb into a very collective moment as an individual awareness. And so your consciousness is realizing its consciousness regardless of interpretation. So it's that moment as a human being, you're realizing you weren't just this physical body, you weren't any body of conception also. What that means is you are becoming aware of the observer, which is giving you the ability and the existential allowance to create many different realities that objectify into something that can be observed. Life has planted the most important lessons you're supposed to learn in this life in you already. You are a moving process that does not need an association, but has comfortably associated, so you don't need to suddenly dissociate either. You just need to see what you have and how much you require. Let all complexity be handled with simplicity. Simplify things to a way where it's real for you and work with your reality. So what that means, if I suddenly came and told you, hey man, we should all, you know, go follow that religion or this religion, or go do this thing and do that thing, you will see that it's much more helpful for you if you followed yourself and found the profit within. You know, that's where creativity really comes out, where you are so excited about learning from your plane of existence that every moment is just a vast opening of knowledge, of knowing, of ideas, of in a sense new views. It's as if you're constantly reviewing your view in that deep meditative, let's say, pose, and in doing that you suddenly saw a movement of your intelligence beyond the story which you have always thought to be a character in. And so the intelligence of the storyteller will become more significant than just the word, for example, God, or any dogma or doctrine or theory or philosophy, you know. We must recognize that language is hollow, and it's in our ability to see what we are putting in the meaning of our forms that makes life more meaningful. For example, if I tell you, what's your favorite color, you might say blue. But then when you see blue, you suddenly wonder, why did you choose blue, and is there an answer? You will say, yeah, and let's say you say, okay, yeah, because I don't know, I like this thing, or blah, blah, blah. Let's say I keep asking you, now what? You know, is there an answer? And you see, when you ask too many whys, your mind has to think in new ways and has to open in new dimensions, because the program is updating itself. The program is realizing that it can blend into a greater design of expression. So what that means is that by asking the same question a long time, you suddenly get an answer to it, regardless. So if anyone was curious about the concept of getting realized, you just need to be excited in knowing who you are. Does that make you wondrous in knowing who you are? Or are you so convinced that you know who you are that you're acting like a god even though you don't believe in it? Creativity is found in the brush that is held by the hands of a new moment. Give everything in your moment and you will become one of the most interesting human beings. If you're just that human being in every moment of your being, you're giving all that you know and receiving it back. It's as if you're throwing your knowledge into the unknown and suddenly realizing, oh my God, it's as if these branches are not it, there's deeper roots and hidden truths. So it's very, very crucial to know that our legs are also our direction and intention to engage in this life and then be our greatest contribution. You're not just here to, for example, write something and just give a great speech and just finish it. No, from the beginning of your life to the end of your life, your whole presence is your contribution. Your life's work is your whole being and how you are being here. And when you are really here, you no longer need to find ability. Ability will find you. And so creativity has always bloomed. Take infinite steps and work with a new you. Much blessings and namaste.